Let's discuss this further now with Lukhanyo Vanqa, a political analyst, and Themba Godi, former SCOPA Chair. Thank you so much to you both for your time. Lukhanyo, briefly, your view on De Ruyter's appearance before SCOPA today.
I think SCOPA was dealing with a very recalcitrant witness today. Andre De Ruyter did not give any facts, did not give any names, refused to give specificities, and I think SCOPA really struggled to get some value out of the testimony that Andre De Ruyter gave before them today, to such an extent that SCOPA is considering summoning him for the next appearance, and I think at the pain of being held in contempt of Parliament, he'll be forced to answer direct questions in a very direct way, because some of these issues that he has raised in the public domain, he refused to go into any detail about them, giving very vague reasons for why that is the case. For an example, the safety issue is a concern that he could have legitimately. However, the fear of being sued or the fear of defeating the ends of justice, those are vague and unsubstantiated concerns that he has. I think even Beki Kadebe, the MP, they offered to give him immunity on as provided for in the Powers and Privileges Act of Parliament if only he took an oath and then gave his testimony under oath. They would be protected from anyone that would want to sue him or any charges that could be brought against him by SABC for defeating the ends of justice. And they refused that offer that was given to him, which brings into question the bona fide, reasons that he's giving for why he would not want to give names. I think at some point he was trying to save some people from political embarrassment with regards to some of the details that he would share of the conversations that he had with them. And I don't think those are concrete enough reasons not to give SCOPA information when they need to undertake their responsibilities and as an oversight body.
Yeah, and Mr. Godi, I mean, as a former SCOPA chair, they're now talking about the possibility of issuing summonses for him to appear, but how should they have handled this particular invitation to begin with?
Well, I think looking at what transpired, it becomes clear that maybe summons will be the best, way forward. They might have been blindsided by the fact that when the Ruyter left Eskom, he made very extravagant claims and spoke very freely about issues and made allegations that they were hoping that before Parliament he would be able to give more light. But listening to the proceedings, I asked myself the question, but why is he there? What is he doing there? Is this contempt for the process? Was he being extravagant to save a particular purpose? Is he trying to protect anyone at this stage? I just could not make any sense out of it.
And do you think that, by issuing these summonses, will they be able to deal with the issues that he raises around immunity, around his own protection? How does SCOPA need to navigate this one?
No. Look, this is a very simple matter. That's why, bad as they are, the Americans, whenever anybody appears before their parliament, it is always through summons. So you take an oath and you are therefore forced to answer all questions. As of now, Parliament, the general practice is to invite. And, people come and they oblige because they understand the responsibility. The issues around his immunity, for me, does not arise because right in the Constitution and also in the Powers and Privileges Act and in the rules of Parliament, firstly, Parliament has the right and the powers to call anybody to appear before it, to give information and to present, documents. And any evidence that one gives before Parliament cannot be used as a basis to sue. To sue anybody. So I was actually surprised that SCOPA did not, talk to that to say, no, you are mistaken. That cannot be the defense. And I don't think that was ignorant of the law. That's why I hold the view that I suspect that he just went there, for the show and just did not want to cooperate.
And Lukhanyo, when it comes to, one of the things that you touched on a little earlier on in terms of disclosure, there's also this contentious issue of disclosing the name of what he calls a senior politician who he said that in order to pursue greater good, you have to allow some people to eat just a little bit. He certainly isn't budging on that one. Will we ever know who said this?
Yes, he didn't budge on that one, Bongiwe, and it didn't. The reasons that he gave didn't tally up because he had safety concerns about disclosing the name of that person on behalf of the person, and I don't understand what safety concerns would arise in disclosing the name of a minister who said you must allow people to eat at Eskom. There are no safety issues there, but intuitively looking at it, Bongiwe, that could really reasonably be raised. And I think we could make our own deductions as to who the minister is. And according to Andrew de Ruyter, he only spoke to the advisor of the president and to Minister Pravin Gordhan. Ergo, the minister is Pravin Gordhan, who would have said, let other people eat at Eskom, because he's the only minister that Andrew de Ruyter says he had reported to these issues. And he says that the minister knows the name of the senior politician because he had disclosed the name of the senior politician who was involved in the cartels at Eskom. And if you recall, there was an interview with Minister Pravin Gordhan when he was asked this question very directly, whether or not he was that minister, and he mumbled something to the effect that he could not recall or didn't remember. And that answer certainly wasn't convincing at that time. And now looking at Andrew de Ruyter's testimony that he had given this information to Minister Gordhan, it makes sense why he was unable to answer that question very directly at that time.
And Ntate Godi, all this is happening against the backdrop of an article by News 24 that the evidence or intelligence report that de Ruyter used to implicate some top ANC cabinet members in the looting at Eskom contained no facts. And this is, of course, according to this particular report. It further adds yet another layer to this particular story of Eskom.
No, very true. In fact, I'll go as far as saying, let's look at the letter that President Mbeki wrote to the Deputy President Paul Mashatile on that aspect that spoke to the Ruyter, where he analyzed some of his utterances in these interviews, which clearly showed that he had very right-wing, verkrampte views towards the democratic dispensation, and especially the majority party, its policies and its attitude. And you then ask yourself the question, when you look at his conduct today, in terms of, is this part of, a condescending attitude from somebody who exudes right-wing attitudes that will then inform the way in which he in which he talks? So is it therefore that some of the allegations that he was making were just part of an inflated sense that seeks to throw as much mud as possible? When somebody is giving the parting shot, so to speak. And here he is today confronted to say, fine, we've heard you. Here we are, representatives of the people. Talk to us. Tell us what happened. And then he's dilly-dallying. I think that it's very frustrating, and it leaves us confused as to whether de Ruyter is anti-transformation, is an agent, or is he trying to protect someone? Because the overall effect of what he did today was still to throw a lot of dust and create a lot of confusion. But still, the allegations linger that Eskom was used as a cash cow, there are cartels, there is unbridled looting at Eskom without really giving the evidence so as to convince everybody that indeed he means what he says.
All right, let's see then what happens. As SCOPA says, surely this is not the end, and they say now that they're back to square one. Let's see then how things unfold. Let me thank you both for your time. That was Lukhanyo Vanqa, a political analyst, as well as Themba Godi, former SCOPA chair.